kick-ass idea. Nintendo games in a theme park. Mario Kart Battle bumper cars. Metroid Prime laser tag. Luigi's Mansion haunted house. Well, depending on where you watch this video, these fantastic predictions by DJ Slope may already have happened, and at Universal Studios nonetheless, the home of some of the greatest franchise-based rides ever created. I am very excited. But on top of all this, Ubisoft are even planning on making a theme park. Quick note guys, if this goes wrong, you can't fix it with patches. Just saying. Video game based attractions. This could very well be the revival of going out of your house and getting an experience that is unlike anything you can experience at home. Something that sadly died down since consoles started becoming on par with their arcade counterparts. But this is all in the future, right? Well, surprisingly, video game based rides and attractions are already with us. And this is my personal top 10. Welcome to Slope's Game Room. So let's start this list off right. Or not. Tomb Raider the ride is based on the movie and not the game franchise. But you know, the ride is from the movie which is tied into the game. Look, just listen. This was a hard list to make. Tomb Raider the ride, which is now called The Crypt thanks to a change about of new management, and let's be honest, the film's not having that lasting appeal, is set in Paramount's Kings Island in Ohio. And it was so well received that a small version at Paramount's sister park Kings Domain in Virginia called Tomb Raider Firefall was also created. This also got changed to The Crypt. In the build up to this $20 million experience, guests of the park were greeted with a huge statue promoting the attraction. The ride was intended to be such a huge tourist trap that this statue even ended up covering most of the theme park's signature Eiffel Tower statue. As you entered, you was greeted with samples from the movie score and the voiceover scaring you away. A few clips from the movie later and boom, it's time to ride. Now this ride is one of these types of attractions, but as you can see, it's far more advanced. Obviously all Egyptian tomb themed with a few close calls as you are presented right in front of the statue from the beginning of the park. You then almost get impaled by spikes before getting soaked wet and hung over hot flames, which is just illuminated water. It could have been anything, hence the name change, but in my opinion, it looks like they did enough with this one to make it a memorable and more importantly, a recognisable Tomb Raider experience. However, we're not finished, because you also have Tomb Raider the roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland, which got changed in 2008 to Time Warp. And let's be honest, this has nothing to do with Tomb Raider whatsoever. And like I said earlier, you have the King's Domain Firefall ride, which sort of captures that Tomb Raider theme, but mostly it's just an impressive ride. However, if you want less theme and easily one of the most unique twists on this big top style attraction, then Tomb Raider Machine in Movieland Studios in Italy may be more up your street. However, for me, I'd rather just get a bite to eat at the Tomb Raider Grill. I know, this should have been a lot higher on the list, but I've got no real interest in Mass Effect, so yeah, my list, my rules. The reason I say this is because apparently Mass Effect New Earth is phenomenal. The ride is a 4D ride which tries its best to give you as much of a real experience as possible. Not only does it look the part, but your chairs move, wind blows in your face, it even has its own smell. From what I can tell, the ride is very similar to something like Star Tours at Disney, as Conrad Werner, played by a real actor, takes you on a journey. And obviously it all goes wrong. It's the obvious style of a ride for a game like this, which was released this very year in 2016. I'm not a fan of these games, although I've never really tried them, but damn, this looks good. Grand Theft Auto is arguably one of the biggest gaming franchises in North America and Europe. The buzz of a new game coming out ends up becoming headline news that even your grandparents hear about. Well, not so much in Japan, because in Japan they have Monster Hunter, a game series that is far more worthy of a theme park ride than Grand Theft Auto. And a theme park ride it didn't get. However, at Universal Studios Japan they did have a short-lived Monster Hunter The Real walking tour. One of the very best parts of this bigger than you expected game series is the overwhelming size of some of these crazy big monsters that you go up against. And for a few years, here at Universal, you could sort of experience them outside or in this small walking tour indoors. All sitting there in their doom and gloom style settings, waiting for a selfie with a peace sign showing Hello Kitty wearing teenager. This gets a thumbs up from me. Sure, they could have done more, but it's perfectly fine for what it is, and surely it gets big thumbs up all round from any fan of this huge series. Oh yeah, whilst we're at Universal Japan, we have Biohazard, the Japanese name for Resident Evil. A sort of haunted mansion style game, where they give you a gun and you shoot real actors. Again, something pretty damn cool if you ask me. However, this isn't the only Resident Evil style attraction you're going to be hearing on this list. But we'll get to that one in a minute. Angry Birds is huge. You got the games, crazy amounts of follow-ups. By the way, this mobile game is actually pretty damn good. You got kids' clothing, their own shop, they got their own big budget movie, which was sort of crap. And of course, because they're on this list, they've managed to plaster themselves into a theme park. The most obvious one is PokePark, a theme park I have been to many times. Angry Birds Land features a 4D movie experience. The detonator, which let's be honest is actually perfect for capturing the gameplay style of this character, is also pretty good. You got bumper cars, which is basically just red and green, and of course a shop featuring everything imaginable with an Angry Birds sticker slapped on the front of it. However, the reason this is so high on the list is because, well, that's not all. The Sarkanimi theme park in Finland also has a land sectioned off dedicated to Angry Birds. This one has a few kiddie rides like the previous one and a quality looking kids climbing frame that actually captures the feel of the game perfectly. There is also another official Angry Birds section in the Lightwater Valley theme park in Yorkshire, which includes an indoor play area that captures an Angry Birds space theme pretty damn well. And on top of all this, they even have a few activity parks set up in certain hotels around the world. However, one thing all of these true to the game attractions never seem to fulfill is the actual style of game that Angry Birds is. You know, pulling back the bird and flinging it towards a big breakable structure, but never fear. Because in 2011, an entire theme park opened up in China without Rovio, the company who made Angry Birds, not even knowing about it. And thankfully, it features that classic slingshot attraction. Although, it does look a bit crap, and I've not been able to find one video online anywhere that actually shows anybody knocking anything over, and practically no one hitting it. For our number 6 slot, we make our way to Six Flags in Texas for a tiny little attraction that has sadly had its day. However, it is based on one of the most iconic gaming mascots ever. Here it is, PacMan Land, which is basically a yellow painted kiddie area. And that's it. But what makes this hilarious to me is you can actually meet Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man, who have these nightmare-inducing flappy mouths to pretend to eat you up. Get it away! Get it away! In all seriousness, I would love to know who actually still owns these costumes nowadays. Such a random moment in theme parks and gaming's history. But sadly, this small attraction only lasted between 1983 and 1985. Who would have guessed that Plants vs Zombies, an albeit entertaining game but pretty small gaming experience, would end up being so big that it gets its own theme park attraction? Okay, this is really modelled more closely to the spin-off Garden Warfare game, and after a brilliantly themed queue, you all sit down in a line and shoot everything you see in this sort of 4D experience. The game also gives you the chance to actually compete with your opponents, and you get scored at the end. Again, in my opinion, it fits the gameplay style perfectly, and the implementation of an actual scoring system brings that gaming experience into the ride, and it adds some nice friendly competition. Also, it's not the only Plants vs Zombie attraction on this list, as it's also going to be making an appearance in the very next spot. So, moving on. This is a big one, and almost fell completely off my radar. That was until Chris Shanks mentioned it whilst researching this list. Hub Zero in Dubai could probably have filled up this entire list if you ask me. An indoor video game themed theme park that focuses more towards the new age gamer. You got Gears of War Laser Siege, which is a laser tag themed team based game. Battlefield Armoured Assault, which is a 3D ride where up to 4 people ride at the same time shooting targets, which is mostly themed around that Battlefield 4 engine. Resident Evil Bioterror is next, and similar to Battlefield is a laser gun shooting ride that involves you wearing special goggles. Both of these rides change the difficulty depending on how well you are doing during the game. You got a 4D cinema showing off Asura's Wrath. Apparently the scariest ride is based on Dragon Age and is a 3-axis mechanical arm which swings you around the room. There is a Final Fantasy VII attraction called Escape from Midgard that projects 3D imagery to all screens around you, where you, as the attraction suggests, escape from Midgard. You got driving simulators, a Pro Evolution sponsored Kinect sensor experience, and like I said in the previous video, you also have a nice little kiddie area themed around Plants vs Zombies. Wow, without a doubt, this has got to be the ultimate video game attraction. And honestly, it probably should be number 1 on this list. The only reason it's not is because, like you, I enjoy my games to be a tad more retro and my top 10 lists to be a tad more obscure. Which brings me to one company that has never stopped trying to make a dent in the theme park game. Yep, it's not a Slopes Game Room video without me bringing up Sega at some point. And boy, have we got a lot to cover here. Firstly, it's probably best to talk about Joypalace parks found in China and Japan. All 10 of them. Most of these have now been demolished, mind you, due to low numbers of visitors in later years, but a few do remain open. Sadly though, that Sega branding is slowly disappearing on some of them, and they're becoming simply unbranded arcades. The weirdest thing about all this is that they seem to use very obscure licenses in these attractions. Hardly no sign of anything Sonic, Outrun, Afterburner or Golden Axe, but instead 9 out of 10 of the times there's something completely new entirely. The only sign of Sonic is a 3D movie of this promo Sonic Night of the Werehog short, which was used to promote Sonic Unleashed. You got a little kiddie area with air hockey tables with Sonic stickers slapped all over it. And oh yeah, you also got Sonic Athletics, which is a treadmill game based on the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games. Other than this, you have a House of the Dead Ghost Kart game which uses projectors and a gun for you to shoot the bad guys. Another very similar to that ride, special version of Let's Go Jungle, you got Virtual Formula, which is an enhanced version of virtual racing, and was so heavily pushed that they ended up sectioning a whole room off with 32 Virtual Formula machines running at a time. Another game based on the arcade game Rail Chase is now a roller coaster in which, yet again, you shoot targets as you ride. And other than this, they have a crazy amount of souped up arcade games as well as normal ones. I'm not saying that these attractions are bad, it just seems crazy to me that Sega would not use their most beloved properties. But hey, that seems to be the Sega way, right? Anyway, most of these attractions are now gone. And like I said, most of the locations have either changed to warehouses, blocks of flats, or just been completely demolished. Especially since you had someone die on their skydiving simulator back in 2005. Other than this, you've had 28 different Sega branded arcades around the world. And like I said, that's not including the countless unbranded ones mostly found in Japan. However, one I really want to look into a bit more is Sega World London. I've been here loads now that it's changed to simply the Trocadero Centre, and well, it's just sad. Gone is the guy in costume and endless amounts of arcade cabinets, some of which were fully state of the art for their time. But now it's just a few rusty machines and stalls outside selling bongs. Ugh, poor old Sega. Again, this was sold to the public, as seen here in this promotional video, as quite a big deal. But get this, it's a Sega theme park that yet again had no real killer app. Something that's quite similar to the company's current console for the time. But for now, let's leave on a bit of a successful entry for Sega, and that is Sega Republic in Dubai. This is a small section of the Dubai Mall with mostly Sonic based rides. Well done Sega, you actually got it right this time. You've got arcades, that awesome House of the Dead ghost cart thing is also here. Check this ride out called Robotnik. You hear that? Robotnik! Not Eggman, Robotnik. And of course, how can I not mention Sonic Spinball at Alton Towers, which is just a normal roller coaster that was pinball themed and then slightly repainted a darker shade of blue, had a few Sonic stickers again slapped all over it, and it's now called Sonic Spinball. They also do actually have a pretty kick-ass, although overpriced, hotel room entirely based on Sonic the Hedgehog. Even with me being a pretty big Sega nerd, let's be honest, the best is still yet to come. A Nintendo based theme park is up and coming, hopefully in the not too distant future. Well, it actually already sort of happened, with PokePark, a whole theme park dedicated to Pocket Monsters. Not bad at all, Nintendo. However, and for whatever reason, the park was designed as a temporary placement, a sort of travelling circus if you will. It featured a kiddie train, one of those rowing boat rides, a merry-go-round, flying Pikachus, a log flume, a roller coaster, and plenty of other typical fairground bits and bobs. And obviously all of this was fully Pokemon themed. What is not to like here? All the rides are extremely mediocre I suppose for us thrill seekers, but for a kids amusement park, this is probably a dream come true. And it's close to the best it could ever have been in my opinion. The biggest ride in the park is this Ferris wheel. Okay, I'm not too sure what's Pokemon about. Oh my god, they're Pokeballs! You are sitting in Pokeballs. That is pretty cool. It's sad to see that this has come and gone, but it's a great look back on what we might see in the kiddie section of our promised upcoming Nintendo Land theme park. Here's hoping. Somehow, I knew nothing about this, and whilst searching the internet for cool ideas for future Slopes Game Room videos, when I discovered it, I knew I had to make this list. I cannot believe that this exists. I've got no real interests in the games, but if you're a fan of Blizzard StarCraft and Warcraft, and yes, I know there's a lot of you guys out there, then you may already know about this place, World Joyland in China, which is probably the worst name imaginable for a Blizzard themed theme park. It's, as you may have guessed, a 100% fake unofficial theme park. Just like the fake previously mentioned Angry Birds theme park and that fake Disney theme park, Blizzard had absolutely no involvement with this whatsoever. Just look at this place. It's crazy. The park cost £30 million to make, and although not entirely Blizzard themed, it is primarily a Blizzard theme park, with a few Universal Studio rip-offs elsewhere. Just like Disney and, well, any other theme park for that matter, you have several sections of the park named and themed differently. And, well, it's pretty hard to deny that you're not copying Blizzard when two of those sections are called Universe of StarCraft and Terrain of Warcraft. One day I'm gonna visit China and I'll go out of my way to go and check this place out. It is insane that this place exists, but it does, and that's why World Joyland is my #1 spot on this list. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. If you want to check out some more of my videos, click the links that you see at the top of the screen. If you haven't already, please rate, favourite, comment and subscribe. And if you want to support the show that little bit extra, come and check me out over on Patreon. This is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.